I'm a goddamn fool. It took me nearly a decade to see what was happening right under my nose. Now that I finally know, I'm sitting here alone with a double whiskey and a head full of rage, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. Can you believe it? I still love her, in some pathetic, stubborn way, but I sure as hell don't like her anymore. Love and hate are doing a cage match in my chest, and right now hate has the upper hand. My hand trembles as I lift the glass and knock back the whiskey. It burns going down, but I welcome the pain. At least it's a distraction from the images flashing in my mind. My wife, Heather, wrapped up in another man's arms, laughing at me behind my back. The betrayal is so raw that I feel bile rising in my throat. I slam the empty glass down and bolt to the grimy bar bathroom. I make it just in time to vomit up about $40 worth of top-shelf scotch and whatever's left of my self-respect. I rinse my mouth at the sink, staring at my own reflection, sweaty, pale, eyes bloodshot with grief and fury. This is what a chump looks like, I think. This is what a man who thought he had it all looks like when it all falls apart. I stagger back to the bar and toss a 20 at the bartender. Another double, I mutter. On second thought, I add, and a notepad and pen, if you have one. He raises an eyebrow but obliges, tearing a few pages from an order pad and sliding them over with a biro. The second whiskey arrives. I don't really want it anymore. I need a clear head for what's coming, but I take a small sip anyway just to steel my nerves. Then I click the pen and force myself to start writing, even though my vision blurs for a moment from the tears I refuse to let fall. On the paper, I scribble a title, To Do. Under it, I start listing the steps I need to take, one by one, however cold-blooded they might seem. Act natural, so she doesn't suspect anything. Gather evidence. Open separate account and move dollars. Consult divorce attorney. Hire I if needed. Freeze credit. Protect assets. Get STD test plan. Confrontation revenge. Make them pay. I put double lines under that last item, pressing the pen so hard it nearly tears the paper. I sit back and read the list over twice, my heart hammering like I'm gearing up for war. In a sense, I am. This is going to be a war of patience, strategy, and cold. Precise hits, where it hurts most. I swallow the rest of my whiskey and toss the pen down. My anger has settled into a focused, deadly calm. If I've learned anything climbing the ranks in business, it's how to plan and execute under pressure. Heather and her lover think they've made a fool of me. They think I'm just some blind, naive husband they can use and discard. They have no idea who they're dealing with. Time to get to work, I whisper to myself, folding the list and tucking it into my jacket. But before I dive into the wreckage of my sham of a marriage, maybe it's worth revisiting how the hell I got here. How did Ethan Reynolds, straight arrow corporate golden boy, loving husband, trusting husband, end up in a dark bar plotting vengeance like a character in a crime drama? Let me start from the beginning. My name is Ethan Reynolds. I'm 35, and until recently I was a happily married man. For 8 years, I wore a wedding band and believed I was one of the lucky ones. Heather and I were the quintessential power couple on paper. I'm CFO of a tech firm. She was a rising star in marketing at a large company. We met through a twist of fate and a chance encounter that, at the time, felt like destiny. We first crossed paths about 10 years ago at an industry conference in San Francisco. I was there presenting on a panel about venture financing, trying to charm potential investors. Heather was attending with her boss, soaking up knowledge and making connections. I remember noticing her in the audience. Hard not to. She had this confident posture, bright green eyes that seemed to drink in everything, and a laugh that carried across the hotel ballroom. Long auburn hair, a quick, genuine smile, and a figure that turned heads in her tailored black dress. In short, she was stunning. At the time, I only admired from afar. I saw she had a guy hovering around her, a handsome fellow who seemed increasingly irritated as the night went on. Later, I stepped out onto the rooftop terrace for some fresh air and overheard the tail end of an argument between that guy and Heather. They were tucked in a corner, voices low but tense. I caught snippets. "I'm not flirting, Derek. I'm networking." "This is my job," she snapped, frustration evident. The boyfriend, Derek, hissed something I couldn't make out, something about making a spectacle. Heather's reply was crystal clear. "You're being a jealous prick. I'm so tired of this." Then she stormed away from him, brushing past me with angry tears in her eyes. Derek went the opposite direction, face like thunder. I pretended to be very interested in the San Francisco skyline, not wanting to intrude, but inside I felt a pang of empathy for her. And if I'm honest, a selfish flicker of hope. If she were mine, I'd never try to hold her back like that. I didn't speak to Heather that night. It wasn't the right moment, and I was just a stranger eavesdropping behind a potted plant. I flew back home to Seattle the next day, thinking I'd never see her again. But life has a funny way of throwing people together. A month later, I ran into her again. This time in Seattle, at a professional alumni networking event downtown. I was chatting with a colleague when I spotted Heather across the room. She was with a group of women, sipping a cocktail and laughing, looking far more relaxed than the last time I'd seen her. My heart kicked into a gallop. Now, I'm not usually the guy who marches up to a beautiful woman he barely knows and strikes up a conversation. I'm a numbers guy, comfortable with spreadsheets and board meetings. Social charm is something I have to consciously turn on for work. But something about Heather that night gave me a jolt of courage. Or maybe it was the bourbon in my hand. I crossed the room and tapped her lightly on the arm. "Heather, right?" I said, aiming for casual confidence. "We met at Tech Connect in San Francisco last month. I'm Ethan. Ethan Reynolds." She blinked in surprise, then recognition dawned. "Oh, yes, hi, from the finance panel." She smiled warmly. Good sign. "I remember you. Call me Heather. It's nice to see you again on home turf." We ended up talking for the rest of the evening. The conversation flowed easier than I expected. We joked about the terrible conference coffee, traded a few war stories from our respective jobs, and discovered we'd both graduated from University of Washington, just a few years apart. At one point I gently broached, "How's your boyfriend?" "Derek, was it?" Not subtle, I know, but I had to know. She made a face. "Derek and I broke up," she said with a wry tone. "Let's just say it wasn't working out. He didn't really support my career or trust me. It got exhausting." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, though internally I wasn't sorry Derek was out of the picture. Sounds like he didn't realize what he had. Heather looked at me for a long second, then gave a small smile. "Thank you. It was for the best." We stayed until the event ended, talking and laughing. When the night wrapped up, I walked her to her car. The Seattle drizzle had started, misting the streets under the glow of streetlights. We hovered by her driver's side door, an awkward electric pause hanging between us. I wanted to kiss her right then, but I wasn't sure if it was too soon. So instead, I asked if she'd have dinner with me the next week. She said yes, her smile radiant and a little shy. That smile made me feel like I just won the lottery. Our first date was something out of a dream. We chose a cozy Italian restaurant. Turns out we both had a weakness for fresh pasta and Barolo wine. We talked for hours over dinner. Long after our plates were cleared, I found myself telling her things I don't usually share on a first date, about growing up in a small Oregon town, how my dad cheated on and abandoned my mom when I was 12. My first lesson in betrayal, though I didn't know it would come back around on me. She listened so intently, reaching across to touch my hand when I faltered. In turn, she told me about her upbringing as an only child in a modest, loving family and her big dreams to start her own marketing firm by 30. Her eyes lit up when she spoke about her ambitions. She was driven. I loved that about her. Looking back, maybe there were tiny red flags I missed. For instance, when talking about past relationships, Heather joked, "Monogamy is great, until it isn't," with a playful smirk. I'd chuckled, assuming she was just being cheeky. She quickly added she'd never actually cheated on anyone. She just meant some of her exes couldn't handle her having male friends. At the time, I thought, those insecure idiots losing an amazing woman because of their jealousy. She also casually mentioned a college sweetheart named Ryan who she'd stayed friends with after their breakup. I didn't think twice about it. I'm not the jealous type, I told myself. That college friend would come to loom large later, of course. From that night on, we were nearly inseparable. I fell hard and fast. Heather had a way of making me feel like the only person in the room. She was witty and bold, challenging my ideas and sharing her own. And our chemistry, let's just say it was off the charts. The first time we fell into bed together, it was like fireworks. We barely made it through her apartment door after a romantic dinner before our hands were all over each other. It was intense, passionate, completely consuming. I'd never felt so wanted, so connected. Afterwards, as she curled against me, tracing lazy circles on my chest, she whispered, "I think I might be falling for you, Ethan." Hearing that, spoken softly in the dark, I realized I was already gone for her. About a year later, on a snowy December evening, I proposed. I'd arranged a cheesy but sweet setup at the restaurant where we'd had our first date. String lights, a dessert plate piped with, "Will you marry me?" in chocolate. I was nervous as hell, knees literally in the snow as I held out the ring. Heather gasped, teared up, and then practically tackled me saying, "Yes, of course, yes." We laughed and cried and kissed to an ovation from onlookers. It was disgustingly romantic and I loved every second. We set our wedding for the following summer. Those months of engagement were some of the happiest in my life. We scouted houses and ended up buying a beautiful craftsman in an upscale neighborhood. We were building a life that felt solid and bright with promise. If there were warning signs during that time, I either missed or dismissed them. One that stands out in hindsight. At our engagement party, an old mentor of Heather's, who happened to be Derek's uncle, ironically, gave me a strange bit of advice. With a kindly but knowing look, he said, "Ambition is a great thing in a partner, Ethan. Just make sure you know what you're getting into." It struck me as an odd thing to say, but I shrugged it off. Heather overheard and rolled her eyes, saying he was just a cynical old man. I didn't press the matter. Looking back, I wonder if he saw something in Heather's nature, some restlessness or selfish streak, that I was too smitten to see. But I'll never know for sure. Fast forward through the next 8 years. We settled into marriage. Both of our careers took off. I climbed to CFO at my firm. Heather rose to marketing director at hers. We were busy, yes, but we made time for date nights, weekend getaways, and lazy Sunday mornings in bed. We decided early on to hold off on kids and focus on our careers and each other, at least for a while. At the time, it felt like we were on the same page, and I truly thought we were happy. Sure, I traveled a bit for work. Maybe 1 week out of each month I'd be on the East Coast or in LA meeting clients or investors. Heather had her own occasional business trips or late nights preparing big campaigns. It wasn't always perfect. There were times she'd complain I was working too hard and I'd counter that her smartphone was basically glued to her hand even at home. But those felt like normal, modern marriage problems. We'd talk it out, promise to do better, then go have great makeup sex or book a spontaneous long weekend in wine country to reconnect. We had systems to keep us close. Synced calendars, daily text check-ins, Netflix binge nights. Friends commented that we still acted like newlyweds even years in, always affectionate and supportive in public. If cracks were forming, I was blind to them, or maybe I just refused to see them. There were a few small oddities. Heather started going in early to work on Wednesdays for a standing project meeting. She'd never been a morning person, so I teased her about voluntarily signing up for an AM meeting. She just said something like, "What can I say? I'm indispensable." I took it as a point of pride. My wife, the MVP at work. A couple of times I came home from a trip a day earlier than expected, to surprise her, and she wasn't home. Once she claimed she'd driven to Portland to see a college friend for the weekend, on a spontaneous girls' trip. I recall feeling a little hurt she hadn't mentioned it, but she laughed it off. "Honey, you were out of town and Jen invited me last minute. I needed a spa getaway." She even brought me back a bottle of Pinot as a peace offering. It all seemed plausible. She kept her phone on lock more often and took a few calls in the other room now and then, but we were both dealing with confidential work stuff, so I didn't think much of it. Looking at those points now, they seem like neon signs. But when you trust someone completely, you develop a sort of learned blindness. I trusted Heather. I trusted us. We were building a future. We had savings, investments, including a hefty chunk of stock options from my company set to vest soon, plans to travel more, maybe even revisit the idea of kids in a year or two. Life was on track. Then a few months ago, everything unraveled with one phone call. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was at the office reviewing quarterly reports when my cell phone buzzed with an unknown number. Normally, I'd let it go to voicemail, but I'd been playing phone tag with a new bank about refinancing our mortgage. We were considering leveraging some equity for a renovation. So I answered. "Hello, is this Mr. Reynolds? Ethan Reynolds?" A chirpy female voice asked. "Speaking," I replied, distractedly clicking through a spreadsheet. "Good afternoon, sir. I'm calling from Northwest Trust Bank, Consumer Lending Department, regarding your recent home equity line of credit application. I just need to verify a few details before we proceed." I nearly dropped my phone. "My what application?" I said, pushing back from my desk. "Your application for a home equity line of credit, submitted last week. she said, sounding a bit rehearsed. We have most of the documentation, but we need to confirm if you'd like to proceed with the $250,000 credit limit or adjust that amount. And we noticed a missing initial on one of the electronic signature pages. I'm sorry. There's a mistake. I didn't apply for any line of credit. I cut in, heart pounding. Now she paused. It was submitted online, sir. We have your name and your wife, Heather Reynolds, as co-borrower. It appears to have been e-signed by both of you. A cold chill washed over me. When was this submitted? She gave a date and time. Last Thursday, 8:16 p.m. Last Thursday at 8, I was on a flight back from New York. Heather would have been home. My mouth went dry. I need to look into this. It sounds fraudulent. Please put a hold on that application. Do not approve anything. The rep agreed, sounding concerned, and gave me her direct number for follow-up. I barely got out a thank you before hanging up. I sat in my office, adrenaline roaring in my ears. A $250,000 line of credit using our house as collateral, submitted online with both our signatures. But I had never seen or signed a thing, which meant someone had forged my name. Someone with access to our personal info, our accounts, even my e-signature. Someone like my wife. I wanted to believe it was a mistake or identity theft by a stranger, but the details all pointed homeward. Heather had insisted we not actually refinance the mortgage when I brought it up last month. She said she didn't want more debt. And here was this secret HELOC application. Why? For what? We had no major debt beyond the mortgage, no urgent need for that much cash. Unless Heather needed money I didn't know about. A nauseating possibility churned in my gut. Was it about Ryan? That college ex-turned-friend I'd so casually dismissed? He was a tech entrepreneur last I knew. She'd mentioned his startup once or twice. Startups always need money. Was Heather funneling funds to him? It sounded insane. My wife conspiring to siphon our money to her old flame? Number. She wouldn't. But who else? If she was having an affair, God, the very word made my stomach twist. Funding the side piece's endeavors wasn't unprecedented. I've heard sordid stories in my business circles, cheating spouses opening secret credit lines for their lovers' projects, even buying them houses or condos. I rifled through my memory for anything about Ryan. They dated in college, stayed friends. We met once at a group outing years ago. He struck me as charming, maybe a little cocky. I remembered him jokingly telling me, "Take good care of this one, Ethan. She's a keeper," with a grin that now seemed more smug than friendly. Suddenly, that memory felt like a warning I missed. My hands were shaking. I needed to know for sure. I locked my office door and logged into our joint bank account online. Sure enough, under recent applications, there was a pending home equity line. My heart pounded as I clicked it. Up came the partially processed application, complete with attached PDF forms. My stomach dropped seeing my own scrawled signature on the documents, except I never signed them. It was an eerily good imitation, likely traced or digitally copied from something. And next to it, Heather's signature, looking perfectly legitimate. Timestamp, Thursday, 8:14 p.m. They'd clearly waited until I was out of town to do this. Attached was also a note about disbursement. The funds, had it been approved, were to be wired to an external bank account ending in 9931 at Bank of America. That wasn't our account. I didn't recognize it at all. In a cold sweat, I pulled out my phone and Googled Ryan Bank of America. Yeah, a long shot. Nothing obvious. But I did find Ryan's startup's website, and on their contact page was an address, a P.O. box, and an email. Small company. A thought struck. If I looked up incorporation records, maybe I'd find a bank reference or account number. But that could take time. I was jolted from my thoughts by my office phone buzzing, my assistant reminding me I had a meeting in 5 minutes. Number. Nope, not going. I canceled the meeting with some excuse about a personal emergency. Then I grabbed my jacket and left the office without another word, ignoring my assistant's concerned look. I didn't go home. I couldn't. Not yet. I drove, almost on autopilot, and ended up at O'Malley's, an old-school whiskey bar a few blocks away, the same place I now sit scribbling my to-do list. The timeline of the last few hours is a blur. I remember ordering that first double, I remember calling my friend Mark, who went through a brutal divorce last year when his wife cheated, and tersely telling him I might be headed down the same path. Mark immediately switched into battle mode, giving me the number of a shark of a divorce attorney, who ironically was his ex-wife's lawyer. "Trust me, you want someone like her on your side this time," he said. He also told me, voice urgent, "Don't confront her yet. Gather everything, lock down your finances, and stay cool." Stay cool. Right. So here I am, somewhat cooler now after shock and whiskey, with a plan forming on paper. I will act natural around Heather, like nothing's wrong. I'll grit my teeth and play the loving husband a little longer while I assemble proof and secure my assets. If she and her lover think I'm oblivious, they'll slip up even more. I will gather evidence. I need to know the full scope. Is it just money, or is it a full-blown affair? My gut says both. The loan alone is grounds for a nuclear fallout, but the likely affair is the soul-crushing part that, strangely, hurts even worse. I'll confirm it with proof. I will open a personal bank account first thing tomorrow and start moving money she can't touch. No joint anything left by the time I'm done. I'll also quietly freeze our home equity line so she can't try another stunt, and set alerts on all credit reports. I will consult the divorce attorney, Angela Ferraro, that Mark recommended. I already left her a voicemail tonight. It's now past business hours, but I said it was urgent. I expect a call back by morning, and maybe, if needed, I'll hire a private investigator, but I might not need one. I have enough tech savvy to dig on my own. I know Heather's phone passcode, unless she's changed it, and I could possibly clone her phone or set up a keylogger on her laptop. I catch myself in the mirror behind the bar. I don't look like me. My brown hair is mussed from running my hands through it a million times, tie loosened, eyes raw. But there's a gleam there, a hardness I didn't know I had until today. That bastard, it has to be Ryan, I'm now nearly certain, and my wife think they're pulling a fast one. They think I'm just some clueless workaholic husband who'll never catch on. They have no idea. I take the notepad, tear off the top page, and fold it into my pocket. My battle plan. The bartender eyes me with a mix of pity and curiosity. I must have been quite the sight, feverishly writing, then muttering to myself. I toss enough cash on the bar to cover my tab and a hefty tip. "Good luck, man," he says gruffly as I depart. I must really look like someone who needs it. That night I go home to our house, now a minefield of memories, and somehow manage to play my part. I walk in to find Heather in the kitchen, sautéing vegetables and humming to herself, the picture of a loving wife making a cozy meal. The smell of garlic and olive oil fills the air, normally something that would make me feel content. Tonight it curdles my stomach. She turns, startled that I'm home a bit later than usual. "Hey, you. I didn't hear you come in." "Dinner in 10, she chimes, crossing over to give me a quick kiss. I force myself to kiss her cheek. My skin practically crawls at the contact, but I channel every bit of my self-control. Act normal. Act normal. "How was your day?" she asks lightly, stirring a pan on the stove. The usual," I say, loosening my tie and leaning against the counter. "Met some new investors, slogged through emails. You?" She launches into a casual rundown of her day, a brainstorming session for a new ad campaign, a funny anecdote about a co-worker's misprinted business cards. I nod, even manage a chuckle at the right moment. From the outside, we might as well be that same comfortable couple we've always been. But inside, I'm replaying that phone call from the bank, and the question keeps hammering at me. Why, Heather? Why? After dinner, which I barely taste, I excuse myself to the garage, claiming I want to tinker with my motorcycle. In reality, I slip into my small home office and quietly rifle through some files in the locked drawer of my desk. Sure enough, I find something that turns my blood cold again. The paper copy of our house deed is missing. We keep important documents together, passports, title papers, etc. And the file that held the house deed is empty. She must have taken it to aid her forgery. The audacity. I carefully close the drawer. She could walk in at any time, though she rarely comes into my office. My mind is racing. If she took the deed, maybe there are other documents she's filched for information. I see our filing box for tax returns. Should I check? Footsteps in the hall snap me out of it. I quickly grab a rag from my desk, cover story cleaning my bike, and step out, shutting the office door behind me. Heather is coming down the hall, a basket of laundry on her hip. She gives me a warm smile. "Oh, There you are. I thought you were in the garage. Yeah, just grabbed a rag. I wave it as evidence. Think, Ethan. Think. I remembered the Triumph's brake reservoir is a little leaky. Figured I'd wipe it down. She wrinkles her nose affectionately. My grease monkey husband. Then she leans in, lowering her voice. Mind tossing your clothes from today in here? I'm doing a dark load. It's such a mundane, sweet domestic request. For a second, I feel a pang of grief, grieving the simple trust and intimacy we had even in chores. But that grief turns swiftly to anger, chores and dinners and inside jokes, all while she's scheming behind my back. Sure, I say evenly. Give me a sec. I retreat to our bedroom, strip off my work clothes, and toss them into the basket she set down. She's humming in the laundry room now, sorting. Everything's so normal. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a text from Mark. You hanging in there? Call if you need anything. I text back, I'm okay, playing it cool. Meeting lawyer tomorrow. Also on my screen are a couple of texts from Heather from earlier today. Hope your day's going well. 3 inches and a silly meme she knew I'd like. She'd sent those likely while knowing she'd just forged my name on a $250,000 loan. The brazenness of it. I have to close my eyes and breathe slowly to not explode. In bed that night, I lie next to her in the darkness, heart hammering. She curls into me like she always does, her head on my shoulder, a leg draped over mine. I feel tense as a board. Does she notice? If she does, she doesn't say. She falls asleep quickly, her gentle breaths puffing against my neck. I stay awake for hours, mind churning. At one point, around 2 a.m., her phone on the nightstand buzzes softly with a notification. She doesn't wake. Carefully, I tilt my head to peek at the screen. It's just the low battery warning, but for the first time ever in our marriage, I feel the urge to snoop. She's asleep. Her phone is inches away. Dare I try to unlock it? She changed her passcode a few months back. For work security compliance, she said. I didn't think twice about it then. Now I realize she likely didn't want me accidentally seeing something. I gently slide out from under her, easing her head onto the pillow. She sighs but stays asleep. With my heart in my throat, I take her phone and tiptoe into the bathroom. I shut the door, the glow of the phone screen harsh in the dark. Face ID won't work. It's her face. But I recall she sometimes uses a numeric code if Face ID fails. Did I ever see it? I enter her birthday. Nope. Try our anniversary. Nope. Try something risky. The last 4 digits of Ryan's phone number. I remember it from the one time we all went out and she gave it to me in case of emergency. That would be truly bold of her to use something like that. Nope. The phone disables after too many attempts and I don't dare push further. I set it back on the nightstand and slide into bed again, adrenaline keeping me wired until dawn. The next morning, I wake bleary-eyed but determined. Heather moves around the kitchen, brewing coffee, clad in her silk robe. She looks beautiful, like nothing's wrong in the world. For a fleeting second, I envy her ignorance of my knowledge. She's utterly unaware the axe is about to fall. She hands me a mug. I thank her with a smile that I hope looks genuine. She then mentions casually, "Oh, by the way, Ryan called me last night. Probably about the reunion planning. I missed it, though. Saw it this morning." She says it so offhand, peering at me over the rim of her coffee. Is she testing me? My pulse spikes, but I keep my cool. Your college reunion thing. He's heading that up? Mm-hmm, she says, breaking eye contact to fiddle with her phone. I'll call him back later. I just nod. Inside, I'm burning. She's so good at lying by omission, it almost impresses me. I leave for work, giving her a light kiss on the forehead as always. The moment I'm out of the driveway, my face darkens. I have a busy morning ahead, further fortifying my position. First stop, a branch of a bank we don't use. In an hour, I've opened new checking and savings accounts in my name only, and initiated transfers from several of our joint accounts. I leave just enough in the joint checking so her everyday spending won't immediately bounce. I need her not to panic or suspect yet, but I move the bulk of our liquid funds. I also withdraw $10,000 in cash to store somewhere safe, just in case things get really ugly. Next, I call a broker and put a password hold on our joint investment account, the one with my company stocks. Heather doesn't actively trade, so she likely won't notice. But now nothing can be moved or sold without my authorization. I also start the process of retitling our two cars into individual names. Mine for mine, hers for hers. No sense leaving co-ownership in place. It's a flurry of activity, and by 10 a.m., I feel a grim satisfaction that if she tried today to screw with any more assets, she'd hit a wall. At 11, I walk into the offices of Ferraro and Associates. Angela Ferraro is waiting for me in her corner office. She's a striking woman in her 50s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. We shake hands, and she motions me to sit. So, she begins, peering at me over red cat-eye glasses. When we spoke on the phone, you mentioned infidelity and financial misconduct by your wife. Why don't you start from the beginning, Mr. Reynolds? I unload everything. The affair I suspect. I don't say suspect. I speak as if it's confirmed, which, emotionally, it is for me. And I have enough circumstantial evidence to convince any reasonable person. The forgery of the loan, the evidence I plan to gather. Plan 2. Angela's eyebrows climb higher as I go on, but she doesn't interrupt. When I finish, she taps her pen thoughtfully. This is quite the web. Adultery doesn't directly affect asset split in our state's no-fault divorce law, but it sure can influence a judge's sympathies. And the fraud certainly affects things. If she incurred debt in your name without consent, that's serious misconduct. She then smiles thinly. Honestly, you've come prepared. Most clients are reeling and disorganized. You, on the other hand, I've had about 36 hours to get very clarified on my priorities, I reply wryly. We discuss strategy. She suggests we file immediately for divorce on grounds of marital waste and fraud. That will freeze our assets legally and put the court on notice of her behavior. I agree. We draft the petition right then and there, citing Heather's dissipation of marital assets and adulterous conduct, leading to irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. It sounds clinical and devastating all at once. Angela will also file an injunction to prevent Heather from further encumbering property or spending large sums. I provide her copies of what I have. I even forward her a snippet of that damning audio in case we need to threaten using it. Angela practically purrs when she hears Heather and Ryan discussing their plan to grab my IPO money. This will keep her in line, she notes, eyes glinting. We also outline what I want. I'll keep the house. I'm paying the mortgage. And frankly, I don't want her to have it after what she's done. I'll keep my business interests and retirement accounts. She can keep her retirement and any personal property. We have no kids, thankfully, and we kept our finances largely merged. Splitting should be straightforward if she doesn't contest. Angela assures me we can structure a settlement that gives her far less than half, given the egregious circumstances. Press her advantage. Don't give her a damn inch, Mark had advised, and I intend to follow that advice. I want Heather to walk away from our marriage with nothing more than her clothes and whatever pittance is in her personal savings account. Likely not much. She was never a saver. Ironic given her sudden need for big money. I leave Angela's office with a stack of documents to review and sign. She'll file them within a day or two. My head is spinning that this is really happening. 2 days ago, I was a married man planning a quiet weekend with his wife. Now I have divorce papers in my briefcase. Sitting in my car, I take a moment, gripping the steering wheel hard and just breathe. The betrayal, the rush of plotting, the legal machinations. It's a lot. I allow myself a few slow breaths to steady my racing heart. My phone buzzes. A text from Heather. How's your day, hun? Grab dinner out tonight? I'm craving Thai. The audacity, or maybe the oblivious normalcy of her message hits me. She's planning dinner like any other day. My instinctive reaction is a surge of anger. Pad Thai with a side of treachery, is it? But I tamp it down. Act natural, I reply. Day's busy but fine. Thai sounds great. See you tonight? I'm painfully aware that I put a smiley face. Adding that emoticon felt like pouring salt in my own wound, playing the cheerful spouse to the woman who's gutting me. But it has to be convincing. Before heading back to the office, I swing by an electronics store. If I'm going to gather solid evidence of the affair, I might need more than gut feeling and a snippet of phone audio. I purchased 2 small voice-activated recorders and, on a whim, a basic GPS tracker that can magnetically attach to a car. The PED I wrote might not be necessary. I can do some of this sleuthing myself. In the back of my mind, I hear Mark's voice. I went a little crazy with spy gadgets for a while. He'd confessed. Now I see why. By late afternoon, I'm back at work, though focusing on anything but this personal crisis is impossible. Thankfully, my calendar is light. I end up researching something I never thought I'd need to: how to clone a cell phone or retrieve deleted texts. Turns out there are spy apps that, if you can briefly get physical access to a phone, will forward copies of messages and call logs, but most require installation on her device, which is risky and possibly illegal. I decide that might be overkill. The voice recorders should suffice for now. I also consider the nuclear option: confronting Ryan directly. But not yet. I need everything lined up first. And frankly, I'd prefer to ruin him from behind the scenes than give him any face-to-face satisfaction. When I get home that evening, voice recorders in my jacket pocket, Heather greets me with a kiss and the menu from our favorite Thai takeout place. "Think we should order the spicy curry tonight?" she asks, as if this is the biggest concern in our lives. I play along, suggesting the usual dishes, sprinkling in a joke about how she once couldn't handle Thai hot level and nearly breathed fire. She laughs, nudging me. Hey, I've improved my spice tolerance since then. It's all so easy slipping into our established banter. It makes me almost sick how normal she's acting. I study her when she's not looking. She genuinely seems happy. Or at least not guilty. How long has this affair been going on, and how has she compartmentalized so well? She can cuddle up to me at night and send "I love you" texts, then scheme to steal from me and meet him on the sly. It's chilling, once you really see it. After we eat, Heather cues up the latest episode of a show we've been binge-watching together. I endure it, barely absorbing anything. My mind is on the recorders burning a metaphorical hole in my pocket. I need to plant them soon. I get my chance later when she takes a long shower. I excuse myself, saying I need to sort some receipts in the study. A flimsy excuse, but she's not paying attention. The first recorder I tuck under a side table in the living room, where she often lounges making phone calls or scrolling through social media. The second I slide between the headboard and mattress on her side of the bed. They're tiny and black, unlikely to be noticed unless you're looking. My heart is pounding as I finish up just as the water shuts off. I retreat to the kitchen and busy myself washing our few dishes from dinner. That night, I make an excuse that I'm exhausted, which is true, and fall asleep early, avoiding any intimacy. She doesn't press, just snuggles in and drifts off. I lie awake a while, listening to her breathe and wondering if she's dreaming of him. Wondering if when I'm really out of town next, will she invite him to our bed? The mere thought sets my jaw like stone. I realize I'm gripping the pillow hard, almost imagining it's someone's throat. This anger, it's consuming. I have to remind myself, focus, Ethan. Evidence now, revenge soon. The next week is a blur of deceit and discovery. By day, I go through the motions at work, duck out for appointments with the bank or lawyer as needed. By evening, I play the affectionate husband while quietly collecting proof like a spy in my own home. The recorders turn out to be gold. Monday, I retrieve the first device while Heather's out for a jog. Scanning the audio, I hit pay dirt almost immediately. There's about a 15-minute phone call from Sunday afternoon when I ran to the store. In it, Heather's voice is low, almost whispery. "I miss you too. This weekend was so hard pretending everything's normal. I know, I hate lying to him. No, he hasn't suspected anything. We're still on track. I feel guilty sometimes." Okay, you're right. This is what we wanted. Just a little longer, and we'll have everything. I'll have you. And the security, too. It's just hard to see him being so sweet when... Never mind. How's the funding going? Don't worry about that. It'll all come through after the IPO. Promise. Our future's gonna be amazing, babe. I love when you call me babe. Okay, I should go start dinner so he doesn't wonder. But I'll see you Wednesday. Usual place? Absolutely. Can't wait. Me neither. I love you. Bye. Yeah, you too. I have to pause the playback because my hands are shaking. There it is, plain as day. The "I love you" that's meant for me being given to someone else. The confirmation that yes, they plan to meet Wednesday, probably during her early work meeting excuse. The mention of the IPO, so he's got her fully roped into whatever financial gain they think they'll get. Guilty sometimes, she said. Sometimes. Not enough to stop, apparently. I press on, listening. There are a few other short clips of her apparently leaving him voicemails. Things like, Hey, just got your text. Yes, Thursday works. Can't wait. Miss you. All in that sickly sweet tone she's never used with anyone but me. It makes my skin crawl and heart ache all at once. I tuck the recorder back and breathe deeply in and out a few times, trying to steady myself. The rage and hurt swirl in my chest like a storm, but beneath it is a grim relief. I'm not crazy. I didn't imagine this betrayal. It's real. And now I have the proof. Wednesday. This is the day they planned their rendezvous. Sure enough, at breakfast, Heather chirps, "I have to head in early, big team meeting." I just smile and kiss her goodbye like a dutiful husband. Then I spend half the day absolutely seething, picturing them together. I'd asked Mark's PI friend Elliot to quietly follow Heather that morning. I'd decided a pro's touch for this meetup might help. Elliot updates me around 11. They met at a hotel, Midtown Marriott, room 803. Got photos of them entering together. He even managed to snap a shot through a partially open curtain of them in an embrace by the window. I nearly vomit seeing the image. Heather pressed against the glass, kissing Ryan with a look of such hunger, a look she hasn't given me in a long time. My hands shake not out of sorrow now, but pure fury. I thank Elliot and tell him that's enough. I don't need the play-by-play of their midday romp. When Heather comes home that evening, I have to summon every ounce of acting skill not to explode at her. She's a bit flushed. From what, I can guess. And she mentions offhand, "Ugh, long day." The meeting went okay, but then I had so much catch-up work. I hum sympathetically and offer to order us pizza since she's tired. She gratefully accepts and even snuggles against me on the couch while we wait for the delivery, sighing contentedly as if she didn't just betray me in a Marriott hours earlier. It takes all my might not to shove her away. Instead, I put an arm around her, and she lights up at the contact, nuzzling me. The nerve of her, seeking comfort from me like I'm some sort of security blanket, while she gives her passion to him. That night after she's asleep, I retrieve the recorder from under the bed. As expected, it caught some audio in the early morning when I was supposedly gone. It's mostly muffled, but unmistakable. The rhythmic creaking of our mattress, soft moans and gasps. Heather's voice whispering, "Ryan, oh God," and his low growl responding. I clamp a hand over my mouth, feeling equal parts devastation and a twisted sense of vindication. Here it is, my wife having sex with someone else in our bed. A fire of hatred I didn't know I was capable of burns through me listening to maybe 10 seconds of that before I shut it off. I can't take more. It's more than enough. Combined with the phone call, the PI's photos, I have an ironclad case. If I wanted to sue for alienation of affection, not recognized in our state, but if it were, I'd have them dead to rights. If nothing else, I have overwhelming leverage. I lock these recordings and photos in a secure cloud drive and share access with Angela, my lawyer. Her late-night reply, "This will do. Be ready. Time to confront her and negotiate from strength." Friday dawns cool and sunny, a stark contrast to the storm about to break inside our house. I've decided that today is the day. The divorce petition is filed with the court as of this morning. Heather will be served early next week, but I'm not going to wait for officialdom to drop the bomb. I want to look in her eyes and watch the realization hit. I want to hear whatever feeble excuses or apologies she might sputter, and I want the satisfaction of delivering my terms with a flourish. Is it cruel? Maybe. But after what she's done, I think she's earned a bit of cruelty. I go into the office for a few hours, mostly to ensure all the financial blocks are firmly in place and to mentally steel myself. I write out talking points, even bulleting exactly what to cover so I don't get sidetracked by her tears or shouting or whatever she'll do. I rehearse once alone in a conference room. It felt oddly good to say the words out loud. "I know you cheated. I know you tried to steal from me. Here are the consequences." By mid-afternoon, I head home. Heather's there when I arrive. It's slightly earlier than my usual time, but not wildly so. She's surprised to see me, though. She's curled on the couch in yoga pants, browsing on her iPad. "Hey, you're back early," she says, smiling. If she notices the grim set of my face, she doesn't show it. "Wrapped up what I needed to," I reply evenly. My heart is pounding, but outwardly I'm composed. She unfolds herself and comes over, reaching up to peck my cheek. Instinct almost has me reflexively kiss her, but I pull back just enough that she catches only air. Her brow furrows, confused. I step past her into the living room. "We need to talk, Heather," I say. My voice has a cutting firmness that immediately sets her on alert. "Okay," she says slowly. She follows me, crossing her arms loosely. "What about?" I don't ask her to sit. I want her standing when I say it. I take a breath, then deliver. "I know." Her eyes flicker. "You know what?" Still playing dumb. "I know that you've been having an affair," I state, staring straight into her widening eyes. "I know it's with Ryan, and I know about the money, the loan you tried to take out behind my back to give to him." I know everything, Heather. For a second, the only sound is the soft whoosh of the air conditioning kicking on. Her face? God, I wish I had a photograph of the exact progression. Confusion, dawning horror, panic. Her mouth opens, but nothing comes out except a tiny, disbelieving croak. I press on, voice cold. "I know you slept with him in our bed. I know you told him you love him. I know you planned to divorce me after my company's IPO so you could cash out and play happily ever after with him." My words are rapid fire, each sentence making her flinch as if struck. "How?" she whispers. Her face has gone pale. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" It's almost pathetic that she's still trying to deny by playing dumb. My temper flares. "Don't bother lying. I've got recordings of your little phone calls. I've got pictures of you and Ryan at the Marriott on Wednesday. Hell, I even heard you in our bedroom with him." My voice shakes on that last part despite my resolve, but I steady it. "So drop the act. It's over. You're caught." Heather's legs give out. She sinks onto the arm of the couch as if her strings were cut. A strangled sob erupts from her. "Oh my God. Oh my God." She puts her face in her hands. For a moment, I just watch her sob. I feel strangely nothing. Or rather, I feel anger, but it's cold, distant. The heartbreak I felt earlier in the week has been cauterized by her deceit. Seeing her cry right now doesn't evoke pity in me, just a grim satisfaction that she finally feels something. She looks up, mascara already smudging under her eyes. "Ethan, I'm so sorry," she chokes out. "I never meant for this to happen." "Spare me." I cut her off, voice sharp. "Don't say you never meant it. You meant all of it. Every lie, every drop of betrayal was a choice you made." She bawls harder. "It was a mistake. I made terrible, horrible mistakes." "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill or dropping a glass," I snap. "Carrying on a year-long affair and plotting to steal from your husband is a series of fucking deliberate choices, not an oopsie." I realize I'm nearly shouting by the end and force myself to breathe. She's shaking, tears streaming. "You have every right to be angry," she blubbers. I don't know what to say. I was selfish and stupid and awful. I've been living with so much guilt, not enough to stop you clearly. I interject icily. "Guilt didn't stop you from climbing into our bed with him, or from forging my signature." I practically spit the words. At the mention of the forgery, her expression shifts from pure sorrow to a flicker of fear. Good. She should be afraid. "I didn't take anything in the end," she says weakly. I panicked and didn't go through with it." "Only because I caught it first," I growl. "Don't try to paint yourself as having a crisis of conscience. If I hadn't found out, you'd have stolen that money like it was nothing." She opens her mouth, then closes it, realizing she can't refute that. Her silence is an admission. For a long moment, the only sound is her crying. I let it go on, arms folded, face impassive. Inside, I feel a tumult of vindication, anger, and, yes, a stab of grief. The woman sobbing in front of me is the one I loved so deeply, and yet she's a stranger now, a stranger who gutted our life. "I wish I could undo it," she pleads softly. "Ethan, I was confused and lonely, and Ryan, it's not his fault. It's mine." I scoff loudly at that. "Believe me, I hold him plenty responsible too. Don't worry about his fate in this." Her brow furrows. "What do you mean?" I smile thinly. "I mean his startup is probably days away from imploding. You think I'd let the two of you walk away unscathed? I've quietly made sure he loses the funding he was expecting. By now, most of his investors have probably heard he's a fraud. He'll be lucky if he's not facing lawsuits soon." She looks at me as if seeing me anew. as if realizing I'm not the mild-mannered pushover she took me for. There's a flicker of shock, maybe even fear in her red-rimmed eyes. I continue, relentless. And you, Heather, you get to lose everything, too. She sniffles, staring at me. I can see the fight-or-flight instinct kicking in as she processes my words. Whoa, what do you mean? I pull from my pocket the envelope of divorce papers I brought home. I toss it on the coffee table in front of her. That is a draft of the divorce petition that's been filed with the court. Her eyes widen, even as she anticipated this. Shaky hands reach for the envelope and she pulls out the documents. She skims, lips moving soundlessly as she reads legal phrases. Adultery, fraud, unequal division of assets. No, please, she whimpers. Ethan, we can work this out. Please. Suddenly she lurches off the couch and kneels in front of me, grabbing at my hands. I'll end it with Ryan. I'll never speak to him again. I'll do counseling, whatever it takes. Just don't do this, please. I yank my hands free from her grasp as if her touch burns. Seeing her on her knees begging might have moved me once. Now, it only disgusts me. I step back, leaving her kneeling on the floor. It's far past that, Heather, I say quietly. There is no fixing this. I gave you all of me, my love, my trust, my respect, and you trampled it. We're done. She wails, a sound of pure despair, and I have to steel myself not to falter. Time to lay out the terms, as rehearsed. My voice comes out monotone, businesslike. I am willing to settle this divorce privately and without dragging you through court for the sake of ending it cleanly. But make no mistake, I'm being more generous than you deserve. She looks up at me, mascara streaked and blotchy. She's still on her knees, hands clasped, like she's praying to a god that won't hear her. I continue. You will sign the agreement in that packet. It states you waive any claim to the house. I'm keeping it. It's my name on the deed now anyway, since you saw fit to tamper with it. I had indeed retitled the house solely in my name when I realized she'd stolen the original deed. Perks of being friends with our mortgage broker, who fast-tracked a title, quitclaim for me. She nods weakly, barely listening, but I drive it home. That means you will move out immediately. Actually, you'll be leaving here today. We'll arrange a time for you to retrieve your things, supervised if necessary, but you're not sleeping another night under my roof. A fresh sob, but she nods, whispering, Okay. You also will receive none of our joint savings or investment assets beyond what's in your own personal account and a small stipend I left you. I know for a fact that amount is around $3,000. I emptied or blocked everything else. I did leave you a few thousand to get on your feet. I'm not completely heartless. My tone suggests I regret even that kindness. Heather's shoulders shake as she cries into her hands. She doesn't argue. How could she? If you fight me on any of this, I add, voice dropping to a lethal calm, I will unleash every bit of evidence to ensure you're left with nothing, and possibly behind bars. She peeks through her fingers, eyes frightened. I spell it out. I will press charges for the forgery and bank fraud. I'll make sure the IRS hears about any shady financial dealings. Hell, I'll send those recordings of you and Ryan to everyone. Your boss, your mother, all our friends. You will be a social pariah on top of everything. Believe me, I'll do it without a second thought. Her face is ashen, horror mixing with heartbreak. Please, don't, she croaks. Then don't test me, I snap. Sign the papers and disappear from my life quietly. That's the only mercy I'm willing to grant you. For a long moment, the only sound is her ragged breathing. Finally, she gives a tiny nod. Oh, okay, she whispers. I'll sign. I'll do whatever you want. I nod curtly. My chest heaves with the adrenaline of it all. This is actually happening. Heather struggles to her feet. She looks so small, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the floor in shame. I'm so sorry, she keeps mumbling. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I hate myself. I was so wrong. I don't need to hear any more apologies. I've heard enough. I move to the front door and open it, gesturing. Stop talking, get your purse and phone, and leave. She lifts her head, agony in her eyes. Where am I supposed to go? It's strange. A week ago, such a question from her would have ignited my instinct to comfort and solve her problem. Now I feel nothing but a grim finality. That's not my problem anymore, I say. She nods, defeated. Each step she takes toward grabbing her bag toward that door seems to cost her greatly. When she stands before me, about to walk out, she pauses. Her lips tremble. Ethan, is there any chance someday? Don't, I cut in firmly. Don't try to pin any hope on anything. We're finished. You made sure of that. Fresh tears spill, but she sucks in a breath as if to steady herself. For a moment, it looks like she wants to hug me or touch me, but she stops herself. Instead, she whispers, I really did love you. So much. I never stopped loving you. I was just lost. A flash of hot anger surges and I bark out a short laugh. You have one hell of a way of showing love. I shake my head. Just go, Heather. Her face crumples and with that she slips out the door into the late afternoon sun. I watch as she walks to her car. She hesitates, looking back at me one last time with an expression I can only describe as bereft. I feel a pang, not of sympathy exactly, but of finality. I loved this woman for 10 years, and now she's just gone. She opens her car door and slumps into the driver's seat. I could turn away, go inside, but I stand there, very still as she starts the engine. One hand over her mouth, sobbing anew, she backs out of the driveway. I don't step inside until her car disappears around the corner. When I finally close the door, the quiet that descends is overwhelming. It's eerie. This house has never felt so silent. There's a dent in the couch cushion where she sat while begging for mercy. A faint whiff of her perfume in the air. Ghosts of a life that was a lie. I sink onto the sofa, suddenly exhausted. It's done. Phase 1 of my revenge was complete. In the days that follow, practical matters keep me busy. Heather signs the agreement via a notary the next day. There's really no fight in her now. She moves out officially over the weekend. I have Mark and a couple of other friends present while she packs her clothes and personal items to avoid any incidents. It's painfully civil. She barely speaks, just cries quietly as she loads her things, and then she's gone. I learn through the grapevine that she's staying with a cousin in another city. Good. Let her be far away. As for Ryan, he essentially goes on the run, from what I hear. His startup's demise becomes tech gossip fodder. Lawsuits are indeed filed by 2 investors for misrepresentation. Last I heard, he sold his condo, or it was foreclosed, not sure, and left town. Reputation in shambles. Good riddance. I change the locks on the house, cancel Heather's credit cards that were under our accounts, remove her from insurance policies, update my will, all the rote steps of excising a person from one's life. Each task I cross off gives me a grim satisfaction. Our friends and family get the sanitized announcement. We have decided to divorce due to irreconcilable differences. Those who know, know. Word got out quickly about her affair. I suspect Mark said something to his wife who said something to someone. At any rate, I'm not bothered. If anything, it saves me from having to explain much. Most friends are supportive of me, and those who aren't comfortable taking sides, well, they fade away along with Heather. Fine by me. I do have an especially difficult conversation with her mother, who called me in tears, apologizing for her daughter's behavior. It seems Heather eventually confessed to her mom. I simply told her that I appreciated the sentiment and that I wished Penny well, but I would be moving on and likely not in contact. It was oddly one of the harder calls. I truly liked my mother-in-law, but she's collateral damage in this mess. She understood. It's been 3 months now since that fateful Friday. The divorce decree came through last week, quick and uncontested. I'm officially a free man. I expected to feel emptiness or deep sadness at this point, but mostly I feel relieved. The dread of living with a duplicitous partner is gone. The constant tension in my gut has eased. In a way, I suppose I mourned the marriage while I was in it, during those last days of playing pretend. By the time I confronted her, I had no tears left. I've started to reclaim things that used to bring me joy. I ride my motorcycle along the coast on weekends, sometimes with Mark, who's been an unwavering friend through all this. I refurnished the master bedroom. New mattress, new sheets, everything purged of her imprint. It's my space now, and it no longer carries the haunted sense of betrayal it once did. I even took a short trip down to the Florida Keys to visit Larry, my former father-in-law. Yes, I know, visiting the father of my ex-wife might sound odd, but Larry and I kept in touch, and he actually was firmly on my side. He'd divorced Heather's mom for similar infidelity issues decades ago, and he offered sage advice and a sympathetic ear. A few days fishing and boating with him did me good. He joked that I've joined the ex-Adonios Club, dark humor that surprisingly made me laugh. Work has been a balm too. The IPO went off successfully, and I made sure Heather wasn't entitled to a penny of it. I pour some extra hours in these days, partly to fill time, partly because I'm genuinely energized focusing on something that's mine and going well. The company's thriving, and I'm looking at a promotion soon. Socially, I'm creeping back out there. Went to a friend's birthday party last week, ran into an old acquaintance, Celeste, who knew me back in college. We talked for a long time. She's divorced too. Funny enough, there was a spark. We exchanged numbers. I'm cautious. Trust is still a fragile concept for me. But it felt good to flirt again, to imagine there might be love or at least companionship after all this. One of these days, I'll probably sell this house and move. Too much space for one man, and it carries memories I'd rather not dwell on forever. But I'm not in a rush. Late one evening, I found myself sitting on the back patio, sipping a bourbon, reflecting on the whirlwind behind me. It struck me that in the span of a year, I'd gained and lost what I thought was my future. And yet, here I am, not destroyed, not even broken. In fact, in many ways I feel stronger. They say living well is the best revenge. Perhaps. I intend to live well, certainly. But I won't deny that I took a more direct form of revenge, and it felt damn good. I didn't resort to anything illegal or violent, though I fantasized about it in dark moments, but I systematically dismantled the lives of the two people who sought to destroy mine, and I have no regrets about that. Heather and Ryan chose their path. They chose deceit and betrayal, thinking I was naive, thinking I'd be their meal ticket or patsy. They were wrong. Underestimating me was their fatal mistake. I downed the last sip of bourbon and set the glass down. The night air is warm, the lawn quiet except for crickets. This house is mine alone now, and in the stillness I feel a sense of peace. I've learned hard truths about love, about myself. I've learned I have a capacity for calculated ruthlessness I never knew. Unlocked only by grievous injury, like a self-defense mechanism of the soul. I'm not proud of everything I've thought or done in these past months, but I also know it was necessary. I preserved my dignity, my assets, and my future. Maybe someday I'll forgive Heather, not for her sake, but for mine. To completely let go of the pain. I'm not there yet, but I can see it on the horizon. For now, she's just a cautionary tale in my life. A chapter I'll remember to ensure I never make those same naive mistakes in choosing who to trust. I won't let bitterness define me, but I also won't forget the lessons bought with that suffering. A notification pings on my phone. A text from Celeste, confirming our coffee meetup tomorrow. I reply with a smiley, a genuine one this time, and head indoors. Before turning in, I stand in the hallway where our wedding photo used to hang. I removed it, of course. In its place, I've hung a mirror. Fitting, I think. A reminder to look at myself and remember who I am, what I've survived, and that I'm whole on my own. As I climb into my fresh bed, in a room free of ghosts, I breathe deeply and close my eyes. I sleep soundly, not an escape but a reclaiming of peace. In the story of my life, I was cast as the victim, but I rewrote it as the victor, and that is a brutal but grounded resolution I can live with.